Hey guys, what's going on? My name's Lockie and today I am back with my Formula 1 2016, almost a 2015, 2016 prediction Grand Prix for the Austrian Grand Prix. Now, I know in this footage you see here, by the way, you may think I'm a little aggressive. I kind of was. At the same time, I was just chilling. I was just kind of in the mood to race and I was basically racing. But yeah, so besides that, going into the Austrian Grand Prix, if you guys haven't seen this, I talk about all the news, my predictions on the Grand Prix, and how it could affect the rest of the season. So, news, not a lot. To be honest with you, since Baku, it's been actually surprisingly quiet. Camara, I think, is getting a test drive for Force India. Some people are saying there's a little bit of speculation that Perez could be leaving. Look at every year, they always test these young drivers. A lot of them don't even get to go into F1, but they do test them nonetheless. Yeah, maybe they are testing it just because Perez might be leaving, but I still think Perez will leave to Ferrari, but I don't think this is a sign right now that Perez is leaving to Ferrari. So yeah, so that's that. But besides that, I mean, it's been quiet. Everyone's kind of been a bit meh on the, news front and just anything. As for, teams like Red Bull and that, I think going into this weekend, it's going to be interesting, especially for Red Bull, because, the track's the Red Bull Ring. They have a huge metal bull in the middle of the track. You'd want to hope that they do well, and they haven't the last 2 years. And I think they'll do well this year. I think they've been, every time they've gone to a track this year and it's gone, well, this isn't a track that favours them, except for Russia. And you can kind of say Baku. But every time they go to a track and it's like, oh, this track is not a good track for them, they've gotten top 5 finishes. It's like the team this year is absolutely incredible. They've done exceptionally well, and I feel like at this track they're not going to let anything pass. They've got this new engine. They've got a lot of things where, yes, in Azerbaijan, we're back in Europe, but this, like, Austria is a lot more better for teams to try out things. They know it's a familiar track. They've been here for a couple of years, so we could see a couple of upgrades coming. As do I think it's going to be a huge upgraded weekend? No, this is not a common. This track's got similarities to some of the other ones to come, but not many. You need other tracks. Silverstone's a good one. Silverstone's where we'll see every team should have some sort of an upgrade. That is the track that you upgrade your car on. So we'll see a lot of upgrades going into Silverstone. We'll see a lot of news. I think mid-season testing's just after Silverstone. So we'll see. We will see a lot to do with Silverstone. Now, as for the Grand Prix, we obviously know Mercedes are going to do well. As I said, Red Bull they'll be a top 5. Ferrari, this circuit doesn't really suit their car, but they'll still be a driver will be in the top 5. Williams have typically been well here in the past, but I do not feel like they have the motivation nor the car to do that well, which leads me to the reason why I am driving as Hulkenberg. I actually was going to drive as Perez, by the way, but I don't know if anyone else experiences this, but for me, Perez's the vibration and the controller. Yes, I do use vibration. It helps me get a more real effect with the controller. So the vibration, the sound and everything was not what was going on. It's a bit mucked up. It's about on a 10-second delay. So I'd be going down a straight and then I get vibration for a corner. Couldn't do it just because it's broken. And then the audio, I was apparently going full throttle when I was under braking. Just a few problems, so I drove as Hulkenberg. But the team itself should do well this weekend. I feel like they will beat Williams this year. This car, they have found something with it that is just unleashed this speed, and they don't have an upgrade for a while. I mentioned this a while ago, how It's odd how they don't have an upgrade coming for a while, but they still are doing really well. And I feel like, the upgrades, I think this year they're going for, it's going to be a guaranteed update or a 95% update. It's not like, we'll try this part, but we have absolutely no clue. It's like the parts they're putting on will upgrade the car. This chassis is phenomenal. They've got the Mercedes engine. So I feel like if this track will suit any of the midfield teams, it'll be Force India because they have the lower range speed. They're very similar to Williams. Williams is good at tracks like Monza and that where they got to cut through the air and it's back your straight line speed. But a track like Austria, the corners can be very much an effect. It is very heavy on tyres, I believe. So it's not a, I wouldn't say, some people say it's a fast track, I say it's a medium speed track. So it should suit the Force India car a lot better. So we should see them do well. So I feel like, yeah, they'll definitely be top 5. So we'll see a Mercedes. I've been right the last times I've been saying this year, this whole year actually. Every time I said I don't think a Mercedes will finish, a Mercedes hasn't finished. I think Mercedes will finish. I don't know who, but I think another Mercedes will finish, but will have problems, which has been a reoccurring thing. And I have said since the start of the year that the problem with that Mercedes team is they ran their car and they did so much testing at 90%. At 90% of their max capacity. And what's come back to bite them in the ass is they've built the car at 90%. Now that Ferrari and Renault have come out and it's like, oh shit, these guys are actually a threat, they've turned their car from 90 to 100, you are now having reliability problems. Now, my opinion, and I saw this, I actually even said this to my father, who I watched a lot of Formula 1 with. I said in 2014, near the end, I'm like, this can't be good. Everyone knows they're not turning the car all the way up. They never run the car at max capacity. How do they know it's reliable? How do they know what they have is so reliable when the other teams catch up? So that's the thing, and it's easy to look in the hindsight. But I'm telling you, it's something that I have seen, and that is why there's a problem. Now, they may know what the problem is, they may not. And I feel like when Mercedes fall behind, they really fall behind, and it takes them a while to catch up. Which is why Rosberg kind of fits for them, because he has the same thing. When he falls off, it's really hard for him to come out. Now, obviously, Baku was an exception, but it's, whereas Hamilton, he just recovers. Or there's the problem, but it's not his problem, He doesn't have 2 odd races. He has a odd race here or there because he's a human being. Everyone has a problem. But that's who, that's what that team is. So I feel like that's been their problem, is they haven't run this car at their max capacity, and it has come back to bite them in the ass. So I feel like, I still feel like 2 of them maybe, top 5, but there won't be 2 on the podium. I can see Ferrari doing well here because it's the high speed with a decent chassis, which is what they have. When it's a low speed with a good chassis track, that's what Red Bull have. They're kind of 50-50. Now, so I do feel like one will get there. Don't feel like Kimi would get there just because he doesn't have that fire element. That a track that's very basic with very little turns. I think only 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, they classify some corners when I don't. But either way, there's not many, and that fire is where you need to really make the most of it. And I do not feel like he has that anymore. So going into Red Bull, as for Red Bull, I feel like, I've talked about them. One thing I do actually want to mention, I know Red Bull's fallen off the ball. I don't know how you want to say it, but just not being quite as what they were at the start of the season. And there's a very good reason. Start of the season, everyone was having problems but Red Bull, which is surprising. But everyone was. Going to where we are now, we're at tracks that really don't suit Red Bull. Going on into the future, the last 8 races I worked out with some of my mates who watch Formula 1. The last 8 races, out of the last 11, 8 races, It's like Red Bull track, Red Bull track, Red Bull track, you know, and you just tick it off, and it's like, that's what they do. Red Bull are never a first half of the season team. They never, well, they do well, but they never excel at their max in the first half. You could say it's down to development. You could say it's on to other things. At the end of the day, they never do well. And if you want a good example, 2012 championship. Going into Spa, Rosberg, I think, had a over 30 point, might have been even over a 40 point lead over Sebastian Vettel. Sebastian Vettel, last few, going into the season, second half, he won most of the races and got it. That's where Red Bull excel. They excel in that second half of the season, and that is where we're going to see them do well. But yeah, so going back, so my top 5 would have to be Hamilton, because I really want him to do well. I'm not saying Nico doesn't deserve the championship. He absolutely deserves a championship. I don't want him to get it the way he's getting it, where he's handed to it on plate. You know, I want him to earn this championship. So I mean, that's how that goes. I said Hamilton to probably Vettel, Ricciardo, Verstappen, Rosberg, and then I can go. I don't know, because anyone else could finish it. They could probably even finish higher up, because Force India ain't that bad. Toro Rosso ain't that bad. Williams are kind of Haas ain't that bad. Although Haas really need to sort their fly-by-wire problem out, which actually isn't their problem. It's actually the Ferrari engine that's causing it, but Ferrari's not helping them, which is interesting to see how that relationship's going to go on to in the future, because it could be a serious problem. So, if what I say comes true, what does that mean going on into the future? What it means is we're going to start seeing some real heavy championship changes and some serious changes. And for teams like Force India, if they do well and they do get 4th place in the championship, that's game changing to them. That is, real serious, many year changing. But I want to go on a tangent for that, and then I'll get to everything else. If Force India do get 4th in the championship, that's that for them. They will not improve. They will not get 3rd. They will not do better unless they get a engine manufacturer and become a factory team for that engine manufacturer, like Red Bull with Renault. If you're wondering, you might be like, oh, but look at this, look at that. Look at Williams. 2014 Williams are having a great year. 2015 Williams are having a great year. Still couldn't beat Mercedes. Same engine. Same exact engine. Okay, maybe they got an update a race or 2 behind. Doesn't make a difference. They were nowhere near in the championship. That's what that comes down to, is these days you cannot buy an engine and win. And that's what a lot of problems is. That's a lot of what my problems is with the sport. I would like it so a team can buy an engine and they can do what they want to it. At the moment, they're not allowed to. I feel like the rules need to get opened up to where you can create and innovate new effective things to bring into this sport. And if you want an example, Red Bull with Kurz. Mind you, I'm going off when I was younger getting into the sport, but from what I read, Red Bull had this great idea. It was getting introduced. And a lot of people say it's FIA, but it was originally a Red Bull idea. And what happened was, they said to the FIA, here's our idea, we would like, if we create it, test it, can we run it in the sport? Now, in the olden days, they could have just built it and gone. But the FIA went through and through and through, and by that time, Ferrari, Mercedes, factory teams found out about it and put it on their cars, and then they were running it. So Red Bull's advantage wasn't an advantage. They still went on to win, don't get me wrong, but they lost the advantage that they would have had. And yes, you get things like, okay, they dominate through the year, but who's to say that Ferrari and Mercedes didn't come up with some solution to counteract that? And that's what I feel like needs to happen. Okay, whether it gets introduced at the start of the year and that's it, you're not allowed to change it for the year. You can remove the part, but you cannot add anything on. Maybe that's the way to go. But these rules need to start changing. But going into the season, So if Hamilton wins this race, it'll be, I feel like the momentum will shift back, and Rosberg will realise that the Baku one was a um, one chance or one bit of luck for him in the season, and he will have some problems. As for going down to Vettel will just kind of be hanging in there, whatever. Ricardo, same. I think if Red Bull can do well this weekend, they'll excel. Verstappen won't really change his thing except for show that he's a decent driver or a good driver. Rosberg, it'll throw him off. And just going on, I mean, it's going to be, there's not much that this could be done. The Canadian, and what was it? Canadian Baku kind of set for a lot. Baku took a lot out of the cars, took a lot out of the engines, so a lot of people who ran a brand new engine threw that engine away because a lot of people are going to have to go to a new engine because that just burnt out. Going down that straight for so long at the rev limiter really, really hurt them. So I feel like that's what we'll see, is we could see engine problems going on, which we never expected to see at the start of the year, just because of Baku. Baku was kind of a, holy shit, this could really make the season or the championship really interesting. But that's kind of it. I mean, Mauritius and Baku looked decent. They had a high place finish, so maybe their development's coming strong, and they could do well. I kind of think it was a one-off race because they had a Mercedes engine, and all Mercedes cars seemed really good at this track. But going into this track, I can see them being Sauber. Renault are kind of falling off ball, but yet again, it was a very engine-specific circuit, that one. At the same time I say that, though, you saw teams like Ferrari and Red Bull especially do decent on that track. And McLaren. McLaren didn't do too bad in qualifying. So I have to take my hat off to them and say that was a good job by them. But going into the season, I don't think this will change much. This will start to define the season. This is going to be, okay, this is who's battling for the championship. This is who's battling for the rest, for say third. This is battling for here. But I wouldn't rule out Vettel and Ricardo. And that's because going on later into the season, Mercedes, like Hamilton's going to start having problems with his engine. Rosberg's going to start having problems with his engine, even though he hasn't really this year. And if you don't believe me on that, 2014, yet again, seen in hindsight that you guys might not believe me on this because I'm saying it way after the fact. But I said to my dad going into the Abu Dhabi race, I go, hey, Hamilton's had 5 problems with his car, Rosberg's had 4. Rosberg's going to have a problem this race. I just know it because it's very even. In 2015, it was even. And, of course, in 2014, the last race of the season, Rosberg had a problem which gave Hamilton the championship. That's how that goes. So, going into the season, I can see Mercedes just running their engines just a little harder, and pushing it to the limit. And that's a team that needs to find that limit. I think they'll win the Constructors pretty easily. But I think Vettel, especially Ricardo. But Ricardo, I want to point out, if Ricardo loses by 20 points in the championship, by the end of the season, he could have won the championship if in Spain and Monaco he hadn't lost the win. Just want to point that out because he was seriously, he would still be ahead of Hamilton in the championship if he had not lost those races. So this will start to define who's battling where, although I wouldn't say the top 4 out of it yet. I'd wait another 2 or 3 races and then we'll find out where the top 4 will be towards the end of the season. But yeah, I mean it's getting into the later start of the season. This race is very much going to define where everything is and going to be and everything. But either way, I know I'm ending this a little bit early, but I don't want to talk about the race, the gameplay you're watching. So I had to do a 2-stop. I was the only one that did. Well, there was a couple of people who did a 2-stop, but I was basically the only front runner that did a 2-stop, except for the Mercedes. They ended up doing it, which I then find out and try to catch. If you have a look on the mini map, there's 3 cars ahead of me. I try to catch them doing faster laps. I'm not going to say what happens because it was one of my best races and one of my best gameplays. I think I've ever recorded, or at least it's one of the best in a long time. So that was that. As I said, I was slightly aggressive, just because I felt like racing. I didn't feel like being nice and courteous and giving myself a disadvantage. Even though I started, I think, in 12th in this, I was the fastest car by far. I was in practice. I set a 1:07.3, which is a really good lap time. So I was fastest, but I thought I'd start there and work my way through the field, not realizing I had to do a 2-stop during the race, and I was the only one. But it led to this awesome finish. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, smash that like button, subscribe to see more, because I will have my review out Tuesday. I'm out this weekend, if you guys don't know. So I'm going to try and watch the practice, qualifying, and the race. I'll definitely see the race, not missing it. So I will have my review out Tuesday. I don't think I'll be able to get it out Monday. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed, subscribe to see that, and I'll see you guys next time.
We've gone through a good 90% of our initial load, 10% of fuel remains.
So Sebastian Vettel takes the win after an imperious drive today. It was a well-deserved victory as well for the German driver.